Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday, everyone. Hope everyone is doing amazing today on this wonderful day. It's the 4th of July weekend celebration type slash thing, right? Where if you're anything like me, I am like a super big kid when it comes to fireworks. So I do look forward to do look forward to fireworks. So I'm gonna find somewhere to go to tomorrow just so I can see the fireworks. But anyway, nevertheless, once you come on, let me know what city and state you're from. Let me know what country you're from. I'm so excited to be with you on tonight. I think we talked about on last week playing to win, or play the hand that's been dealt to you. Tonight, I wanted to do a little bit of a lighter topic, and it's something that I haven't talked about for quite some time because, as you all know, as singles, I really don't really press the topic of dating because I am more about ensuring that people walk into their authentic self, excuse me, and that they walk away just understanding who they are, tapping into their purpose, really taking the desire off of marriage and dating, which are not they're not bad things, but I think sometimes we get so overly obsessed with the idea of finding that special someone that we lose sight of why we're really here, and what we're created to do and be on this earth. But tonight, I do want to talk to some of you who may be saying, well, it's been a while. I think I want to get myself out there back on the dating scene. I want to explore my options. And so I'm going to give you 10 practical tips that you can just kind of consider as you are dating in 2023. Now, dating in 2023 is way different than dating 10 years ago. There's so many things that are out there. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. So make sure that you have a pen and paper to write these down. You will be able to view these a little bit later after the live goes off. But for those who are here for the first time, welcome to Live Chats with Shavonda. So we're going to go ahead and just hop right into it. So the very first thing that you want to do when you think that you're ready to start dating again, I say this a lot and I'm going to say it till I'm blue in the face. You need to make sure that you heal first. What do I mean by that? It's very difficult to be in any relationship, or even let's not even say a relationship. It's very difficult to even start the process of dating someone if you are not healed, if you still have trust issues, if you know your baby mama did you wrong and you're upset with her, so you're going to take it all out on the next person. If you have emotional instability, if you have issues with addiction, if you know that you are Jonah and you're running from God, you need to go on and say yes. There are things that we don't know what you're dealing with, but if we take a good look in the mirror, we know the things that we need to work out. Now, are you going to ever be perfect? Absolutely not. There are going to be things that you're going to always have to constantly work on, always have to overcome. And so we don't want you to always use that as an excuse, but there are some things that right, that nobody else knows that you need to work on. And so those things you really want to really seek the Lord and heal first, because once you heal, then you can look back and identify what your weaknesses are, excuse me, and what your triggers are. Because, there have been times when I was in a relationship, it did not work out. And afterwards, I'm like, man, how did it get here? Like, what in the world happened? And, there have been times in the past where I imposed my, my trust issues on someone else. So it wasn't even gonna work out the gate because I wasn't gonna trust them from Adam. So, those are things that you have to consider. Once you identify your weaknesses and you understand your triggers, Then you know what areas to tap into and what not to tap into. The next one that you want to consider is, oh, I messed up. All right, let me see. The next one that you want to consider is know what you want. You have to know what you, hey D, good to see you. You have to know what you want. Why would you date just to date? Like, you can't just, throw spaghetti on the wall to see what sticks, right? You have to understand what it is that you like. And ladies, I'm speaking to the ladies real quick because we are the worst when it comes to this. But guys, y'all a bit crazy too. Sometimes we get in the way with our list, right? I remember there was a time that the only people who, it was three types of guys who would always talk to me. Either they were in the military, they were a PK, a preacher's kid, or they were a pastor. Those were the only three types of people who used to date me. And so I began to form a type. And because I formed a type, it didn't matter who else came my way, although I might have been intrigued. At the end of the day, I would say, well, they don't fall into those three categories, so it must not be meant to be. You have to keep your options open and be really realistic about the fact that, it may not always come in the package that you want it in, but understanding what you want is key, because then you can knock out by process of elimination that this is not somebody that I want to be with. It. For example, I'm 5'7", and let me just say, this is no shade. I promise you, I'm not trying to be petty right now. I had never dated a person that was shorter than me. And the one time that I did, it did not work out for me. And honestly, I remember I was at a nail shop, and this lady had been doing my nails for years. And so she would always ask me about, well, you're so pretty, you're so intelligent. Like, who is it that you're dating now? So if I was dating somebody, we would talk about it. I would show her the picture, what have you. So this dude that happened to be short, I show her the picture. She was like, who are you dating now? So I was telling her about this guy. I show her the picture, and she was like, no. She was like, he too old. He too ugly. At the end of the day, she was right. I mean, he was ugly on the inside. But, there are things that you have to be honest with yourself about. So know what you want. If you like an intellectual, if they have to have a good head on their shoulders. Some deal breakers for me are, if you are a father, and you can be a father, I'm 41 years old, so when 2023, the chances of you having someone who doesn't have children are slim to none. Not to say that it can't happen. So I don't want to throw away anybody's desires. We're just talking about me. But the reality is, if you do have children, make sure you're not a deadbeat. So for me, if you can't take care of your kids, there's no way you can take care of me. And so those are the types of things you want to always continue to be realistic about. Know what it is that you want, because if you know what you want, then you won't give out discounts. And we don't want to give out discounts, because at the end of the day, we want somebody that matches, they say in 2023, matches our energy. But I would say, really shows the same amount of value, that you bring to the table. And so you have to understand what you want. Number 3, be okay with saying no. Sometimes we get so desperate that we just entertain everything, and you can't entertain everything. And a lot of times it has to do with the fear of being alone. And that's something that if you feel challenged with, you really have to pray and ask God to help you with that. I remember that there was a time where it's not that I wanted to be, I feared being alone, but I desired companionship. Now, the desire is not unhealthy, but if you start to compromise your standards just to get attention or just to be with someone, that's when it becomes an issue. And what we say in those instances, listen, be busy doing purpose. Be found in purpose. I use Ruth as an example because she was always, she knew exactly what she needed to do. She wasn't focused on finding a husband. She was focused on, at the time, being a breadwinner for her family, and ensuring that they had a roof over their head and that they were taken care of. And so, she understood the assignment. So be okay with saying no. Don't be desperate. Don't be so gung ho on just because you don't want to go out or you want to be taken out, that you just go with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, Susan, and Michelle. Because then you start to kind of taint lines and not be able to identify what it is that you truly want. Those are the times when you start to lower your standards. Keep your standards high. Next thing, do your homework. Make sure that when you are dating in 2023, let me tell you something. I got 2 people that I can reach out to right now and give them a person's name, and they will be able to give me all of the details in 10 minutes flat. It is what it is. But, and I'm not saying be a stalker, but I am saying don't go into anything blind, because you can't in 2023. I remember, like, the very first time, I tell you guys this story all the time, but it's because I feel that it's relevant. I will continue to share it. I remember there was a time where I fell head over heels for this guy. You can tell me now, we was going to be together forever. Before then, I was like the dude in relationship. I didn't really take guys that serious. And so, I didn't give him really the time of day. I'd be like, oh, no, we good. They would ask for exclusivity. I'd be like, nah, I'm good. But when this guy came, I was like, wait a minute. He could really be the one. And so we ran right into a relationship, and it was amazing. It was outstanding. We were together almost every day. And when we weren't together, we were on the phone or we were texting back and forth. And it was just amazing until I found out he was engaged to be married to somebody else. And I was like, wait a minute, how in the world could you have been, engaged with somebody else and you were with me this whole entire time? I did not ask enough questions. You have to make sure you do your homework. You have to make sure, you ask about their history. Ask them a few times. Make sure that the math is mathing. 2 + 2 has to equal 4. And I realized when I look back, I didn't do my homework. I didn't ask the right questions. And if in asking questions they become evasive, that should be a red flag for you. Now, do not go into any conversation with somebody that you're interested in dating and make them feel like it's an interrogation. You have to be skillful in your communication. And so there are things called open-ended questions that you can ask, and it's more to it than tell me a little bit about yourself. You can say things like, well, where did you grow up? Oh yeah, well, what church did you attend? And then if everybody gonna say a certain church because it's the biggest church, and so it's easily identifiable, and you can just hide in the crowd. But when you start to ask them certain questions, you start to really see if they're really about who they say they are. And so do your homework. And there have been opportunities where if you run into a mutual friend or a mutual friend, there's nothing wrong with very casually saying, hey, so I see you're friends with such and such. Tell me a little bit about them. Now, if you don't know them from a can of paint, don't be going up to them people because they're going to think you're crazy. But all that I'm trying to say, I hope you catch the drift. Make sure that you do your homework. Pull up that Facebook page. Pull up their friends page. Pull up their status on Facebook. Pull up their Instagram. See who they're friends with. See what posts they're making. Those things are important. It's not about just what they say. What are they showing you? How are they communicating to you? Even through social media, those things make sense. Next up, number 5. Ladies, please let the man take the lead. I know we're in 2023 and we are all independent. But ladies, you gotta let the man take the lead. You can't just be like, oh, he's fine. So I'm going to set up hotel. Excuse me, not hotel. Y'all better be making no hotel reservations. Set up the restaurant reservations and tell him where to go. No, 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 no. You have to allow the man to take the lead. Now, can you give a gentle nudge? Absolutely. You can do that very skillfully. You can do something like, so when you're going to ask me out? If you're interested in someone, it's just cute little playful banter, but it's something that's safe and, and see how they respond. Now, once they take the lead, when he takes the lead, ensure that you communicate if you're interested. If you're interested in this person, don't play hard to get but for so long. I don't believe that there's anything wrong with a guy who may ask you for their number. And you say, well, yeah, of course, let me give you my phone number. I'm just not that type of person. Like, unless the Holy Spirit tells me to do it, I'm just not the type of person that's going to give you my phone number on the first try. Like, I'm just not. But if it's somebody that I'm extremely interested in, are you going to save the live? I missed the first 4 tips. Yes, I will save the live and make sure that I share it afterwards. I'm talking to somebody on Instagram. I have Facebook and Instagram on right now. Excuse me. So if they happen to pique your interest, there is nothing wrong with saying to them, you know what, I would love to go out with you sometime. Or, I'm interested. What is it? What is I always say? I'm very flattered. I'm so flattered that you would ask. Absolutely. Yeah, we should do that sometimes. And that's it. Like, don't do nothing else. If he truly wants to take it a step further, he's going to make the plans. He's going to tell you where he wants you to show up at, or at least ask you some things that you like. He's going to do something else to show you that he's interested. Do not try to overtake the situation. Us ladies that are independent, sometimes we assert ourselves and it demasculinates, a male. And so you have to ensure that you let him take the lead, say, yes, I'm interested, and he'll take it from there. And so, number 6, set realistic expectations. Okay? Set realistic expectations. Okay, so what does this look like? Hey, Shy, what does this look like? Okay, I might say, I'm a single mom, right? And especially when my kids were younger, they're a little bit older now, but when my kids were younger, I could not do anything spontaneous. So if it was a guy that could not plan, did not know how to plan, it wouldn't work for me, because as a single mom, I had to make babysitting arrangements. I have to find somebody to watch my kids. I have to make sure that I can, based on my schedule, I have to make sure that I, can take off. There are things that I have to plan because of the way my life works. And so I have to set realistic expectations up front. There was a time in my life where I was way too busy to date. Way too busy to date. And there was a gentleman who was extremely interested in dating me. And I had to tell him, like, listen, I'm so sorry. I appreciate your interest, and I'm extremely flattered, but I'm just telling you, the way that my schedule is set up, I just don't have time right now in my life today, especially when I was going to school full time, working full time. I had 2 children that I had to take care of. I couldn't even barely sleep, let alone think about dating somebody. And so he said, well, listen, I want to make this work. How can we make this work? And so I had to set realistic expectations with him. I said, listen, if you're really interested in dating, I'm going to have to know a week in advance. And, I can't be out past a certain time. No problem. I set the expectation. He respected the expectation. And that was that. Now, if you have somebody that's like, that doesn't get it, then that's not your person. I had literally, I still have someone that reaches out to me and is like, "Hey, I want to stop by your house." You can't stop by my house. You cannot stop. No, you have to set those realistic expectations so that they understand where you are, what the expectation is. And then also, when you are dating someone, you set certain expectations in terms of, as a Christian man or a Christian woman, there are certain conversations that I'm not going to have with you. There are certain things that I'm not going to say. There are certain things that I don't find funny. I remember one time this guy sent me something and we were cool. We were just really good friends. It wasn't nothing. We kept it real light and we were good about it. But one time he sent me something that I thought was extremely inappropriate. And so my response to stuff like that is, did you really mean to send this to me? Because what I'm not going to do is hee hee ha ha. So you think that you can, test the waters to see if we can take the conversation somewhere else. And they were like, "Oh, well, I thought it was funny." Well, it wasn't funny to me. I thought it was completely inappropriate. If he gets offended by that, then so be it. I'm not your person. But I'm going to set that boundary so that you understand there are certain conversations I'm not ever going to have with you because I don't know you like that. And I'm a Christian and I believe in doing things and that are tasteful. And so if I can't say it to my daughter, or if I can't have the conversation around my kids, I'm not going to have the conversation. If I can't have the conversation on a church grounds, or whether I'm in church or out of church, I'm not going to have it. And so you have to make sure that you understand that it's important to set those, maintain healthy boundaries, setting realistic expectations. Let me go back to that one really quick. Leave nothing out. Now, if you're just dating someone, let's just say you just met somebody, you probably don't want to give them the whole run sheet right then, because they might not even make the cut. So don't waste your breath. First, we want to understand if this is dating material. So that takes a couple of conversations, a few random FaceTimes, a few phone calls to see if they're going to pick up, those types of things. As the relationship or the dating situation grows, that's when you still want to continue to set your groundwork and set those realistic expectations. Okay, so the number 7, maintain healthy boundaries. Maintaining healthy boundaries is important for a lot of different reasons. One, and I'm gonna talk to the ladies for a second. Sometimes we move way too fast. We are already writing his last name and replacing ours with his. And, we just do way too much, way too soon. So you don't want to be clingy. You don't want to come across as needy. You don't want to come across as someone who's obsessed. Whatever you was doing before you met that person, you need to continue with that routine. And if they don't fit in that, if they can't work around that routine, then I can't have nothing to do with it. Why is that important? Because what happens is, if you start to integrate them and throw away all of the things that you have put in place in your life, whether it's through ministry, as serving in ministry, gym routines, workout routines, things that you do with your family, and you start to just completely alienate everything and everybody else and start to just throw away everything for this particular person. And then as soon as it doesn't work out, you like, but I gave up everything for you. Well, ain't nobody asked you to do that. Who asked you to give up everything for them? Y'all just dating. It ain't even serious. You ain't even got a ring. He ain't even think about proposing. She ain't even gonna say yes yet. So what are we doing that for? Don't change up your routine just because somebody is interested in you. No, you keep right on living your life. And so I remember that there was this one guy, and I just wasn't in a space. I wasn't in the space to entertain exclusivity. I just wasn't. I had someone that was a very, he was interesting. I liked him and all of that, but I was about to give up my other friends for him. No, I wasn't. There were times, and I've said this to you before, there was a time in my life I didn't date at all. For 9 years, I did not date, not a soul, because I needed to work on myself. I had to heal. There were a lot of things that the Lord had to uproot and cast out of me. But when I started to entertain just the thought of, well, maybe, if I have once the Lord gave me a release, let me say it that way. When the Lord gave me the release to start dating again, I understood that I couldn't get into anything too heavy too soon. And so I had to keep my distance. And what I wasn't going to do, like you said, Shaw, I was about to lose me in the process of dating nobody else. I'm not going to lose me when I'm dating you. And if they require you to give up things that make you happy, there's something wrong with that relationship. And so this particular person, he'd be like, hey, well, what you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm about to go out to eat with a friend of mine. Oh, okay. And so as time went on, like a couple months would go by, he'd be like, what are you doing tonight? And I'm like, well, I already have plans. And so then he started to catch on, well, I need to, schedule ahead of time. So he'd be like, what are you doing next week? And, I'm like, I'll be like, well, I'm free, Tuesday evening, or I'm free such and such evening. And we will go out. And so then like that next day, he would be like, so what are you doing tonight? And I'd be like, well, I have, I'm going out with a friend. He'd be like, wait. He was like, wait. But we're seeing each other. So what? We're friends. I don't see no rings on my finger. Do y'all? I don't see no rings on my finger. So for me, I had to explain to him that, yes, but I told you up front, here's the kicker. I told you up front that I'm not looking into anything serious right now. If something comes along, absolutely. Am I open to the idea of exclusivity? Absolutely. But only when it makes the most sense. And right now, I'm just not looking for that. And so I had to remind him of what I said, and say, listen, and this goes both ways. It goes both ways. Men, sometimes my only issue with you all is that you're not very clear in what it is that you're looking for. And here's the thing. There is somebody out there always willing to do what somebody else won't. And so my issue sometimes with men is that they like the challenge of a thing. And so they just up and rip people's lives to shreds just to prove a point. And I think that's wrong. And I'm not putting you all in the same box, in the same category. I can only talk about my experiences. But you have to be careful to set realistic expectations and maintain healthy boundaries, because you don't want them to get the wrong idea. I had somebody that I knew that although they said to this particular person, I'm not looking for anything serious, but when you listen to their conversation, it was giving serious flags. Like, if you say you're not looking for anything serious, you can't have it both ways. You can't tie up this person's time and get mad if she goes out with someone else, but you're saying that you don't want anything that's heavy. You can't have it both ways. And so my point is, listen, when you're setting realistic expectations, your boundaries have to match up with that. Maintain healthy boundaries. Ladies, if you're saying that you're not looking for anything serious, you can't go out with him every night. You have to make sure that you keep him at arm's length until you're ready for that next step. And when that next step I'm talking about is not sleeping with somebody, that's not what I'm talking about. The next step is, okay, I'm dating this person and I think I might want to take this to the next level. and really, burn the black book in the trash. I wouldn't suggest you do that until you're absolutely positively sure, but that's on you. I'm not a player. I'm not any of those things, but my eyes are wide open. In 2023, you can't expect for most people to understand or respect where you're coming from without you showing them first. So in other words, I mean what I say. You can't call me after 10 o'clock at night. So if they call, because they will try, when they call you at 10:30 and you've already set the boundary that you're not going to talk to a person after 10 o'clock at night, as much as you want to do it, don't pick up the phone. You can show them better than you can tell them. And so you have to understand what that boundary is and hold, you know how they say in what's one of my favorite movies is like Lord of the Rings. And they be like, they be on that front line. They're like, hold, don't move yet, hold. And then they're like, go, So you have to hold that line. You have to keep that line and make sure that you don't cross it. Another reason why you should maintain healthy boundaries, because it's a thin line between love and hate, baby. It's a very thin line. And if you consistently say things but act another way, you can give people the wrong idea and they could be confused by it. Next up, this is number 8. Don't lower your standards. Do not lower whatever your standard is, don't lower it. But I'm going to help you out. Also, don't be unrealistic. Some of us, I love us, right? I love all of us. And what I'm going to say might sting a little bit. Okay, so just get ready. You have to make sure that the standards that you are requiring of for them to have and to be, that you also maintain that standard. You do realize that, right? You can't just require for them to have, money in the bank, sun rooftop, kick in the scene with a gangster lean, and you don't have a pot to pee in. You don't have anything. You don't have any residuals. You don't have any assets. You don't have anything. And sometimes we get a little bit too extreme with our expectations of other people when we don't even have them for ourselves. So the standards that you're setting for everybody else, make sure that you can maintain that standard yourself. Make sure that what you're requiring of somebody else, you are holding yourself accountable, as well. My cousin says, that's the one for the ladies. Woo, it's for the men too. But it's the truth, and a lot of times too, when it comes to standards, I think that standards are extremely important. And there are some things that are deal breakers for me. They have to love the Lord, not just love the Lord, but they have to serve the Lord and really honor him. There are certain principles based on scripture that I'm looking for in a man. And I've never been the type of person that's like, he has to be tall, dark, and handsome, or he has to be this or that. But one of the things I prefer is a man that's taller than me. But, what if, right? And I'm just going to help us out tonight. What if the person checks all the other boxes, checks every last one of them, except for the height criteria or the weight criteria, or he don't have the beard like you wanted, or he's not bald like you prefer it? Those are the things where I'm saying, okay, let's not be unrealistic. So my question to you is, and these are the things that you should consider. Is your standard a deal breaker, or is it negotiable? Just think about it. So there are some things that for me, like I said, he has to, love the Lord. He has to want children. And if he's a father, he has to be a good father. He has to be respectful. You know, there are certain things that that turn me off. You know, dropping f-bombs every 5 minutes. I'm sorry, it's not something I'm attracted to. Or, you know, there are certain hygiene wise. It's a big one. Those type of standards. We're not going to compromise. But there are some things that you can ask yourself, is this a deal breaker or is this negotiable? Because sometimes we might have found ourselves with the person that God has destined us to be with, but because they don't meet 1 out of the 10 things that you have on your list, oh, you don't want them. She doesn't have an hourglass figure, God. I can't deal with her. Now, am I saying that you should be attracted to them? Absolutely. Yes. However, what if she's super skinny? She don't have hips, but she has all the other criteria. I'm just saying, something to consider. So, don't lower your standards when it comes to dating, but don't be unrealistic either. Okay? Next thing. This is a big one. I believe in this one, y'all. Keep your options open. Keep your options open. What do I mean by that? When you're dating somebody, you're not married. You're just dating. Like, this is not, you're just dating. So you don't want to take it too seriously because they're not taking it too seriously. Okay? When you are dating someone, I see women do this so much, and it's cringeworthy. I'll give you an example. We have a singles event, and we're planning for our singles event, SOAR, Singles on a Rise. We have a summit every single year. And I invite all of the singles to attend. And there are some years where I'll invite a single, and they'll say to me, I'm so sorry, I can't come because I'm dating. What that got to do with you coming to a singles event? Y'all ain't married. So you mean to tell me you're gonna miss an opportunity to network and to meet other singles? We're not coming together to hook up. We're just coming together to have a good time and to talk about godly principles and, you know, being a single Christian and you know, in 2023 and 2022, what does you dating have to do with going to a singles event? You're not married. And sometimes we lock ourselves down for years. I mean, I remember the last time I said I would never do it again. I was dating someone, and you know, out the gate, they were almost like, listen, I want us to be exclusive. And I feel like I allow myself to be rushed into a relationship. And he didn't even like when other guys called me on the phone. I'm like, dude, stop tripping. Like, it is what it is. Like, I just met you. I've known them for 15 years. And there's nothing happening in this situation. He was like, well, I don't really like you to have other guys that are friends. So I was like, okay, well, I respect that. And so, you know, one by one, I cut off like my guy friends, and, you know, and then it was like, well, why you got to go out with your girlfriend? So, you know, it was a problem going out with the girlfriend. So I didn't want to have any arguments. So I would, you know, not do that. And it was just like one after another after another. I cut off all my relationships for this knucklehead. Are we together today? Y'all ask me that question. Are we together today? No, we're not together. And here I go, cut off all my other options. And this person, you know, I didn't even end up with them. So sometimes you just have to put yourself, you know, position yourself in a relationship so that you're successful. But when you're dating somebody and it's not that serious, keep your options open. And then it's not saying that, you know, you have to be honest about where you are, what it is that you want, And if they truly, truly, truly want to be with you, they will show up and show you that they're serious. But until they do, keep your options open. Keep your options right on open. And if they love you, then they're gonna put a ring on it. I mean, it's just that simple. And until that time happens, you know, they're opening themselves up for a situation where they may lose you simply because they're dragging their feet. Because if you wasn't ready, and here's another thing, and I didn't even put this on here, but I should have. In 2023, like, I'm 41 years old. Okay. I'm not going to be just dating to date. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm very comfortable in my own skin. I love who I am and all of that. And I can take myself out. Okay. I spend $100+ on a meal for myself. So let's just go there for a second. So a lot of times what'll happen is we find ourselves in desperation. And so we get into these situations just because they show us attention or pay us attention for whatever reason. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, I can do it for myself. So whoever is going to come into my life or is interested in dating me has to understand that if I can do it for myself, and it's not in, the way I'm going to say it is going to sound bad, but I don't mean it that way. But I don't need you. I may want you, but I don't need you. It's a difference. I may be attracted to you. I may like you, but I don't need you. And the moment where you start to sense that isolation is a red flag, you're absolutely right, Natalie. The moment that you start to sense that they feel like you're obligated to do something for them or to, no, that's the moment where you just got to take a step back. So Chris says, if you have to stop knowing and speaking to people you've been knowing, that person definitely is not for you. Now, and I believe, like, listen, now there are stages to this. There are levels to this, right? It's going to be a different type of conversation if me and this person are about to get married. You know, I remember when I was dating this one guy, and it was a serious relationship. And he said to me, he said, listen, you know, I really would like for us to become exclusive. And at first I said, no, I said, I'm not ready to be in a relationship. So, but, you know, after a while, we were, you know, I want to say 6 or 7 months in, he said to me again, he was like, listen, so about those friends you got, it was a different type of conversation then. Because I knew the intent of the other people, they really were trying to court me. And so at a certain point, I had to make a decision which route that I wanted to go. And this particular person, I said, you know, out of everybody that I'm, you know, entertaining right now and considering, I think this is a good match for me. And so I said to him, I said, listen, you know, about 6 or 7 months in, I said, listen, I said, I can respect what you're asking me to do. I said, and I'm okay with it, with 2 conditions. I said, the first one is there are two guy friends in my life that have been in my life. They're truly just friends. We don't see each other like that. It's not like that. I gave him the story for both of them. I said, so there's nothing going on. There's nothing that's ever going to go on. They're truly like my brother. He said, no problem. I can respect that. And the second thing I said to him was, I'm going to keep my options open until I'm married. In other words, yeah, we can be exclusive. But if something comes along that I might be interested in, it might be a different conversation. And I might have to come back to you and say, listen, I think we need to reconsider our situation. ladies, do not take yourself off the market for no ninja. I'm going to say it like that. I want to say something else, but I'm not, because I'm saved. But don't take yourself, and same thing, gentlemen. Now, the moment that you know it's them, what you waiting for? Get your stuff in order. Let's do it. But we're just talking about dating. Like, I feel like I'm Allen Iverson. We're talking about practice. I mean, we're talking about practice, y'all. We're talking about dating. And so if you're just doing that, just chill with it. Natalie says, I didn't know this when I was married. Oh, wow. Well, you know it now. No worries. No frowns. Turn that frown upside down. Chris says that sounds like a control issue. And some people do have them. That's why you got to do your homework. Okay, we're almost done. I promised myself I will only be on here 30 minutes tonight, and I sure did not do that. Okay, so 9 was keep your option opens. We're on 10. We're ready to go home. All right, here we go. We're going to take it right on home. 10. Y'all know I was going to add this in here. Pray to God about everything. Everything. You should not pray. You should always pray to God about every person, every conversation, the things that you wear, the places that you go. You had to make sure that you include God. There were 2 major relationships that happened in my life. And if I had listened to God when I inquired of him in the beginning, I would not have wasted a total of 6 or 7 years of my life with 2 individuals that didn't deserve me, weren't worth it. And truthfully, at the end of the day, were narcissistic and didn't really love me anyway. They didn't care about me. It was more about them. And I had to take the L, because when I say L, I mean loss. I had to take the L because when I prayed to God, I wasn't obedient to what God says. See, sometimes we don't ask God because we don't want to know what it is that he's saying. But you have to make sure that you seek the face of the Lord. And you may not know the reason why. You may never know the reason why God says no. But trust what you hear in prayer. My spiritual mom says that all the time. You can trust what you hear in prayer. You can trust what God reveals to you through scripture. Pray to God about everything. And when you do that, you will find yourself protected from time wasters and people that are destiny distractions that are trying to take you out of your place in God. There's some other things that you want to consider, as well. And when you're dating someone, you want to make sure that you are choosing well-lit places. You want to ensure that, do research, do reviews of the places that they say that they want to meet you. And be careful. Here's a bonus that I wanted to share with y'all, and I promise I'm done. This is the last thing that I want to say to you. It's not a part of my 10, but it's something that you should always consider. Have an accountability partner, and don't be afraid to discuss with your spiritual leaders. First part of that. If you're going on a date with somebody, maybe this is your first date with them, you should always have somebody that knows where you're going. If you can do like a couples type, you bring a friend, I'll bring a friend, that's even better. You can't take for granted that this is 2023 and people are show enough crazy. And so you want to make sure that you have somebody that you can bounce things off of. What do you think they meant by this? Or they said this, or he asked me this question, or I remember one time I was dating this guy. This was years ago. And he was like, let's go to Aruba. Just out the blue. Now this guy, he was a millionaire. And but he was Tommy, like on Martin. Like, you ain't got no job. So y'all already know what that was about. But, back then I didn't care. I know better now, but back then I didn't care. So this guy was a millionaire, and he was a multimillionaire. Jesus. And he says to me, he said, said, I want to go to Aruba. And I was like, bet, let's go. And so I mentioned it to my friend. I was like, girl, he told me he want to take me to Aruba. She was like, girl, do not go to Aruba. Are you crazy? You don't know him like that. She had to talk me off the ledge. I was thinking about the trip. She was thinking about my life. And so you got to be sure that you have an accountability partner. You have a friend that can say, girl, do not drink the Kool-Aid, or dude, she's crazy. Don't do that. Like, you mean to tell me she paying all your bills and she ain't want nothing from you? Something wrong. You need to run. So have an accountability partner that you can bounce things off of, that can sometimes be the voice of reason. And sometimes they will pay attention to red flags that you don't even see is there. Like, like, yo, the last 3 times she used that same excuse why y'all couldn't get up. Or the last 3 times she said that she was doing X, Y, and Z, but I saw her at such and such place. And then, certainly if you have spiritual leaders, and when I say spiritual leaders, I'm talking about, you might have a pastor, someone that you're very close to in the church, or you have most times they have like a couples ministry where they have people who are in leadership positions there, or elder, a pastor, something along those lines. There is nothing wrong with going to them and saying, listen, I have this scenario. I want to run past you. I've been praying about it. They may not give you, tell you what to do, but they may be able to instruct you on how to pray, or provide wisdom from a similar scenario that they may have seen. Remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And the enemy always tends to come the same way. He doesn't have new tricks. He just used different people, but the spirit and the intent behind it is always the same. And so sometimes when you allow people that you trust, let me say that, someone that you trust, and you allow for them to come into your situation and you share your perspective, they may be able to provide wisdom based upon experiences that they've gone through themselves. And so those are my 10 dating tips for 2023. When I come back on, we may not do it the next time, but when I do come back to talk about dating, the next time I want to share the spiritual aspect of dating as well. Tonight was more about practicality and things that you want to look out for. Obviously, red flags, actions speak louder than words. Understanding and knowing the type of person that you want. And then knowing when you identify your weaknesses, then you also know what type of person you can't be around. I used to watch Amsterdam. It was a show on TV. The Lord told me to stop watching it for reasons that I can't really divulge right now. But I remember there was an episode of this lady, and I'm going to end with this. This particular lady, she was fighting substance abuse. And she was fighting substance abuse. And she had gotten to this really, really, really bad accident. And because of the accident, she had to have surgery. So there was some type of pain management that was required. And so what her therapist told her to do was to assign someone that she trusted that would be able to give her the required dose of medicine and nothing more. Regardless of whether she kicked, screamed, yelled, cried, it didn't matter. She said, I trust you. Please make sure that no matter what I tell you, you don't give it to me until it's required. So like if I'm supposed to take it every 4 hours, I think her instructions were give it to me every 6 hours. And so it was time for her to take her medicine, and she couldn't find the pill. She couldn't find the pill. And she said, oh my God, I can't find my pill. Somebody stole it. But because she was an addict, nobody believed her. They thought that she was lying because she was a former abuser. And so the person that she assigned to sign off on the pills was like, well, if she said it, then Go ahead and give her a pill. I'll vouch for it. And so she started to put two and two together, and she was like, wait a minute. That was too easy. If you gave me this pack and you told me that you would not give me these pills, but for a certain period of time, and it was almost like you knew that I didn't take the pill. And if you knew I didn't take the pill, I didn't lose the pill, that must mean that you are the one who took it. And so he first was like, oh my God, I would never do that. And da, 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 da. So anyway, long story short, he ends up confessing that he was an addict too. And that she was right. And that he did take the pill. He said he promised he would never do it again. And she gave him this long kiss. This was this show. This episode of the show. She gave him this long kiss, and she said to him, she said, I never want to see you ever again. Because she understood that in order for her to remain in her position of sobriety, she could not be around somebody who was also an addict. And so, why am I saying this to you? You know what your weakness is. If you know that you always end up sleeping with them and you always end up giving them the cookies, you can't put yourself in a position with someone who doesn't respect or is concerned about your boundaries. You have to identify what your weaknesses are, what your struggles are, and not leave that power in anybody else's hands but God. There was somebody that I was dating before, and they were like, they wanted to go away. And I said, well, I can't go away with you. Why? We're not going to do nothing. I'm like, I know we're not going to do nothing because I ain't going away with you. But we can go away. We're adults. We're adults. We can stay in the same. No, we can't. I'm 41 years old. Okay. And even now I know, and I'm saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. I have 2 children out of wedlock, and I've learned a mirage of lessons along the way. And I am living a life of holiness. I'm living a life of celibacy. I believe in the sanctity of marriage. I believe in waiting until marriage. And even now, I would not trust myself to be in the room with no man. Why? Because why tempt yourself? Why put yourself in a position to fail? Some things are not even about weakness. It's about common sense. And so please, please, please use wisdom when you're dating. Don't have and when the conversation is wrong. You know when it's going into left field. And there were times, even now, as a grown woman, where I have to say, I can't watch that. I can't listen to that. I can't have this conversation. This person is trouble. All of that. Somebody says, this is what I needed. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that confirmation. You have to know what those triggers are. And so at the end of the day, learn from your past mistakes. Learn from your weaknesses and your vulnerabilities, and don't allow the enemy to exploit them or to use them to put you in a situation where God has brought you out of and that you've been delivered from. I love you guys with the love of the Lord. Continue to pray for me as I pray for you. Listen, until next time, I hope you guys have a beautiful 4th of July celebration, and that whatever you do, that you are safe and that you continue to walk with God and serve him with your whole heart. And so also, listen, you might say to me, Shavonda, I'm about to get out in the dating scene, but I need a little bit of help. I got to figure out some things about me. You said some things that I think I might need a little bit more counseling on or need to talk through. I do offer one-on-one life coaching sessions. The information is on the screen. You can email ShavondaRDixon@gmail.com. You can also go to my website, www.shavondadixon.com, to sign up or to become a partner, y'all. I done made it official. So make sure y'all check it out. www.shavondadixon.com. I love you guys with the love of the Lord. Until next time, I hope to see you all soon. Y'all pray for me because I'm certainly praying for you all. Talk to you later.